Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we try to figure out what companies are really up to. Today we're diving into Cidara Therapeutics' latest proxy statement. Don't worry, it's not as dull as it sounds. Think of it as a behind-the-scenes look before their annual meeting where the big decisions get voted on. It has to do with who gets elected as board, how to allocate more stocks, executive compensations, usual things. But I promise it's juicy. So what's a proxy statement anyway? It's basically a document a company sends to its shareholders before a big meeting, kind of like Cliff Notes for the important stuff they'll be voting on. This one's a preliminary version, meaning things could still change before the final votes. First up, there's the election of the directors. Basically, shareholders get to vote on who sits on the board, which is like the company's governing body. This time they're electing 3 Class I directors for a term that extends to the 2028 annual meeting. Then there's a proposal to increase the total number of authorised shares of common stock. They want to double the amount of shares they can issue from 50 million to 100 million. This sounds like a power move to be discussed further. Next on the list, we have an amendment to their equity incentive plan. Basically, a way of giving people who work for the company a piece of the pie through stock options and other incentives. We should also keep that in mind in the following points. They're also asking shareholders to approve their choice of Ernst & Young LLP as their independent accounting firm for the year. This is like getting a thumbs up on their financial record keepers. And finally, there's an advisory vote on the compensation of the company's top executives. This is a chance for shareholders to weigh in on whether they think the big bosses are getting paid too much, too little, or just right. Okay, so only stockholders who are on record as owning shares on April 21st get to vote. If you bought shares after that, you're sitting this one out. Also, if you got multiple notices, it's because your shares are registered in different accounts or under different names. Make sure to vote for all your shares. If you want to submit a proposal for next year's meeting, there are deadlines and rules to follow, so read the fine print carefully. Let's meet the nominees for director. First, there's Jeffrey Stein, the president and CEO. He's been with the company since 2014 and has a long history in the pharmaceutical world. Then there's Bonnie Bassler, a molecular biology expert who sits on several other boards. And finally, Ryan Spencer, who's been leading Dynavax Technologies and has a background in commercializing vaccines. The chairman of the board is Daniel Burgess and the CEO is Jeffrey Stein. This separation reinforces the independence of the board. Now let's talk about something that's very important nowadays, corporate responsibility. They list several key points to support that they are following the new trends by supporting electric chargers, diverse culture, and ethical conduct. Okay, time for the numbers. Let's see what they paid Ernst & Young for their accounting services. There was an audit fee of around 1.4 million. Let's keep this in mind when we check other reports. Remember that proposal to authorize a whole bunch of new shares? Well, here's the deal. They don't have enough shares to meet their future needs. This is a big problem. They need more shares to raise capital, potentially acquire other companies, and provide employee incentives. Without it, they might not be able to fund their clinical trials or attract top talent. But it also gives them an anti-takeover defense. If someone tries to buy the company, they could issue more shares to dilute that person's ownership. Basically a double-edged sword. Now, about that equity incentive plan amendment. They want to increase the number of shares available for stock options and other awards. The rationale? To keep their key employees happy and attract new ones. They admit that their current equity pool isn't enough. This plan has some good governance features, like no repricing of options without shareholder approval. Quick note on governance, Daniel Burgess, the chairman, is considered a financial expert by the board. Also, all members of nominating and governance committee are independent. This shows that their leadership has no issue with that requirement. And for the tax people among us, there are overviews of federal income tax implications for different kinds of equity awards. Here's a table summarizing the number of shares of common stock awarded for key people in the company. And then it comes the say on pay proposal, which is a non-binding vote from the shareholders to say if they agree with what the executive team are getting paid. Now let's move to some numbers. As of the end of the year, Jeffrey Stein held 1,244 shares and there are thousands more unvested, which indicates that more stock options will follow. The named executive officers are Jeffrey Stein, Leslie Tari, and Taylor Sanderson. As for the total payments to Jeffrey Stein, for example, they were a total of around 6 million, and the other 2 executives had a total of 2 millions. As you may expect, the largest part of the remuneration comes from the equity. The board is in charge of these plans and compensations, not an automatic process or formula. Lastly, a table about the directors and their payments, with Burgess as one of the top recipients as well. Alright, so after digging through this proxy statement, what's the big picture? Cidara is at a critical point. They need more capital, which is why they want to authorize more shares. Their equity incentive plan changes are aimed at keeping their talent happy, but also to prevent those people from leaving. There are solid governance and mostly a plan to keep going. For this breakdown helpful, give us a like, drop a comment and subscribe. Until next time, keep decoding.